Today, let's make the most epic homemade apple pie.
With the most delicious apple filling and the flakiest crust.
For our pie crust, we're going to start by pulsing together the dry ingredients. We're going to be using our food processor, and we're going to add in 3 cups of all-purpose flour, 1/4 cup of white granulated sugar, and 1 teaspoon of salt. Let's pop on the lid and pulse it together.
Now that we've pulsed all our dry ingredients together well, we're going to be going in with 1 1/3 cup or about 300 grams of unsalted cold butter. It's really important to be going in with very cold butter here. So we actually cut it and stuck it back in the fridge. But basically the cold butter is super important because it gives you that really flaky crust. But now when I pulse it together, I'm going to pulse it really fine, almost like sand, because we're looking to do some lovely trellis work on top of our apple pie. However, if you're looking for a really flaky crust, you're going to want to keep the butter a little bit bigger when you pulse it. So now let's go in and pulse this together. That looks just perfect.
Now that we pulsed the butter into the dry ingredients and we've got a lovely sand-like texture, we're going to bring it all together by adding 3/4 cup of ice cold water. I put ice cubes in the water and we're going to now add it in gradually. Just straining it so we don't get any of the ice cubes into the food processor. Now we're just going to stream it in and start pulsing. Wow, the dough has come together perfectly. Let's sprinkle some flour on our work surface and empty the dough on it. Now with a gentle touch, we're just going to bring it all together. You don't want too much of heat from your hands getting onto the dough because the butter will melt. So I'm using the bench scraper to bring it together. I think that's just perfect.
Now that our dough has all come together, we're going to add it to some plastic wrap and we're going to wrap it up and refrigerate it. This is a really important step because it'll help the butter in the dough to really solidify, and that's going to create those lovely flaky layers. We're going to stick this in the fridge now for a couple of hours.
We're going to be peeling and coring 6 gala apples. You can use Granny Smith, Macintosh, whichever is the variety that you like. I'm going to cut them into small cubes. You could even slice them if you liked. Now to avoid the core, I'm just going to go around. Let's add the apples to a bowl.
Now that we've got our apples nice and diced, we're going to be going in with some sugar. To start off, I'm going to add 1/2 cup of white granulated sugar. And then to really add a lovely caramelization to our apple pie, I'm going to be going in with 1/2 cup of brown sugar. So let me just measure that up. This is going to add a delicious flavor to the apple pie while it bakes and it gets really caramelly on the side. So I'm going to add in 1/2 cup of this brown sugar. To bring out all the flavors, an essential ingredient in baking is salt. And we're just going to go in with a little pinch of salt. Now let's spice it up. We're going to first go in with an essential fall flavor, cinnamon. So I'm going to go in with 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon powder. And you can go in with more or less depending on how much you like. But it's a little bit strong, so we go in with 1/2 to start off. Another delicious flavor is nutmeg. This makes all the difference in your baking. I'm going to grab our handy dandy microplane and I'm just going to grate in about 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg into this. Once again, nutmeg is a strong flavor, so take it slow and steady. Now to freshen things up, we're going to go in with some lemon zest. And this is going to add a lovely fresh flavor to our apple pie. And it's really going to bring out all the beautiful flavors of these apples and freshen it up. So we're going to zest in about the zest of the whole lemon here. And make sure you just get only the very top layer, because the second layer, the whitish part, is a bit bitter, so you don't want to get that. You just want to get the lovely fresh citrus flavor. Now let's mix this all together and get the apples all coated with these delicious flavors. Now let's hit the stove with these.
To a heated skillet on a medium heat, we're going to add half a cup of unsalted butter and allow it to melt. To that, we're going to add the apples and saute them for a while. Once the juices start releasing, let's pick up a couple tablespoons of the juices and add it to 3 tablespoons of cornstarch and create a slurry. We're going to now add the slurry to the apples, and this is going to help the juices to thicken, creating that lovely thick filling. Toss the filling into a bowl and allow it to cool till almost room temperature. Now it's time to assemble the pie. We have our pie filling which has cooled down, and we have our pie dough which is nice and chilled. So now let's go ahead and start rolling it out. We're going to cut it into halves. We use half for covering the base, and we're going to use half for the trellis work on the top. Just going to flour it a little bit. This pastry dough has come out really nice. Make sure you flour both the sides so that your rolling pin does not stick to the dough. To get a nice flaky pastry, you're looking for around this much of a thickness to your dough. An easy way to transfer the dough onto your pie dish is to roll it around the rolling pin. I'm just putting a little bit of flour on the rolling pin so that it does not stick, and then we're going to gently roll it on. And now we're going to transfer it onto the pie dish. We're just going to lift it and let it go inside so the baking dish gets covered well and it does not shrink too much. Just going in with the kitchen shears and cutting off the excess. We're going to empty all our delicious apple pie filling into the pie dish. Really stack it up. It's already smelling incredible. Cannot wait for it to be baked. We're going to cover our pie with a traditional trellis, and for that we're going to roll out the remaining half of the dough. You could use a pizza cutter, a pastry cutter, or even just a knife to cut the strips. But I got a little fancy tool which is going to give me equal strips. So I'm going to go ahead and use this. To begin creating the trellis, we're going to lay down the strips about 1/4 inch apart from each other till we cover the pie in one direction.
Next, we're going to start interweaving strips to create that beautiful trellis. To do that, we're going to lift up alternating strips that we had just placed down. We're then going to grab a strip and place it perpendicular to them. Lay the folded strips back down in their place, and then pick up the next set of alternating strips. Once again, you're going to lay a strip down perpendicular to them, and then continue the process till you've covered the entire pie with this beautiful trellis.
Now that our beautiful trellis is complete, we're going to start trimming off any of the excess. You just need a little bit because you're going to start tucking it in, not too much. Now that we trimmed all the edges, let's just start folding it in to get a nice even edge. We're just going to start tucking it in. We're not doing any crimping for this one, just a tuck. To give our apple pie that lovely glossy look, we're going to brush it with an egg wash. For that, we're going to use 1 egg and add 1 tablespoon of cream to it. You could even add a tablespoon of water. Now, using a very light brush and very gently, we're going to just brush down these strips. Make sure to get every strip so that when it comes out of the oven, you get a lovely uniform colored crust. Just going right down to the edge. Now for that little extra crunch, we're going to sprinkle the top with a little bit of white sugar.
Before we toss our pie into the oven, we're going to create an aluminum foil collar. This is going to help the pie to bake perfectly without browning the edges too much. You can also get a collar pre-made from the store, but this is an easy way to make your own at home. Tent the collar around the pie and just lock it in place by ripping the edge and folding it over. We're going to toss the pie into an oven that's preheated at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 45 minutes to an hour until the crust is nice and golden and the filling is bubbly and warm. Now when the pie comes out of the oven, you're going to be really tempted to eat it right away, but let it sit and cool so that you don't burn your tongue. And the best way to enjoy an apple pie is with a delicious scoop of vanilla ice cream. And there you have it.
Hey, and before we go, if you're new to our channel or haven't subscribed already, subscribe, and if you hit on that bell icon, you'll get a notification every time we upload new videos.
And follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. All the information is in the description box below. Thanks for watching. See ya. Let's give this a taste.
It's nice and flaky. Taking some of the ice cream too. Mmm.